As you probably have heard, the Iranians burned down the Saudi Arabian embassy in response to the Saudis executing a Shiite cleric. Okay? But what I'm teaching you now is that the animosity between Shiites and Sunnis goes back to the very dawn of Islam. And we're going to get to how they got their names even, okay? So Uthman is an old man. Uthman is who canonized the Quran. Because people literally, during Umar's reign, people memorized the Quran. It wasn't written down. Did you know that, Bobby Sue? It was not written down. It was on stones. There were pieces of bark that they had written stuff on, papyrus, whatever. It was fragments all over, and some of it was just committed to memory. And in a battle where the Muslims did not do well, a lot of the people who had memorized the Quran and were the ones who would recite it were killed. And so I think it was Uthman that urged Umar, you've got to order somebody, or it might have been Umar who urged Abu Bakr, but the point is that they said, look, we've got to write this thing down. Because if we do poorly in battle again and all the reciters die, the people who've got it committed to memory, we're in trouble because we're going to lose God's book. So they had it gathered as best they could. People who had it committed to memory and no one had it written down, they would recite it, and then they had a guy who wrote it all down, and then they put it somewhere for safekeeping. I believe it was with Fatima. But if I'm wrong on that one, forgive me, but it might have been with Umar or his daughter. Some family member had it. And a lot of names here and a lot of details to remember, I promise you, and I'm not using a teleprompter. When Uthman was the caliph, the third caliph, you had Abu Bakr, Umar, then Uthman, he said, there's fragments flying around everywhere, and this guy says that the Quran has 114 chapters. This guy says it has 115. This guy says it's got 116 chapters. He said he got it all together, and he put it in the order that it is now, and he had all of their copies seized and burned. Okay? There were a few that escaped his clutch, which is how we know that, and for hundreds of years, some of them existed. Now, this is a real problem, by the way, for the Muslims, because they say it's God's book, and that the real Quran is in heaven, and the one that we have down here is the perfect, exact replica, duplicate of what's in heaven, which is obviously nonsense. And they could not decide how many verses, how many chapters. Anyway, Uthman, with his own hand, would copy the Quran, and he's in his old age now, and he's got people around him that are running things that are corrupt, okay, that are just flat out corrupt. And people who were loyal to Ali came in while Uthman was literally working with the Quran, and they killed him. There's blood splattered on pages of the Quran. They murdered him. They know who did it. And then Ali, they said, okay, Ali needs to be the next successor. And they said, Ali, what are you going to do about these guys who murdered Uthman? And Ali said, I can't decide if what they did was right or wrong. And he didn't punish them. So that was as good as saying he agreed with the assassination. All right, so this really infuriated some people. All right, now here comes the name. Are you ready? The Sunnis, it comes from the word sunnah, it's related to that, the early path, all right? The early followers of Muhammad, his friends, his companions, they believe that Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and then Ali were all legitimate caliphs, successors. Sunnis call them the four rightly guided caliphs. They're the rock stars, okay? They're the rock stars of Islam after Muhammad himself, the four rightly guided caliphs. The Shiites, Shiite is an abbreviation for Shia al-Ali, which means the party of Ali. So the party of Ali believed, the Shia al-Ali believed that Ali should be the successor. From day one, it should have been him. The Sunnis said, no, it could be any of the rightly guided caliphs. It could be anybody in the Muslim community. And the Shiites, the party of Ali, said, no, it's got to be a blood relative of Muhammad. So finally they had their man in there. But their man would not execute the people that assassinated Uthman. Wait till you hear what happens next. You want to talk about intrigue, and it involves Aisha.